Lena Silberman, a name you might recognize, was a beautiful young woman. She had lost her only daughter and her husband in the Holocaust, at the beginning of the Holocaust. And really what drove her, what kept her alive during those 3 years she was in internment camps, concentration camps, Nazi ghettos, was the slim hope that her sister was still alive. And soon she figured out, she later discovered that her sister was captured, was tortured, and was murdered by the Nazis. And so Lena, now with no despair, with no fight to live, with nothing to live for, she wandered throughout her life, and she found herself at a refugee center where, waiting in line, she had heard cries from upstairs. And so she went upstairs, and what she encountered was 75 Jewish orphans, starving, crying, some on the verge of death. And in that moment, she made a split-second decision to save as many of them as possible. And so she became their mother, and she saved them. And in that moment of courageous decision-making, her life took meaning, and she found the purpose. And suddenly she was filled with vigor, with excitement, with energy. And many years later, she wrote a book titled My 100 Children. And it's pretty clear that hearing those cries had saved hundreds of lives, if not more, including her own. We see in the Torah how God describes himself to Moshe. It wasn't as a God of power, it wasn't as a God who created the world, but it was I heard the cries. So Hashem puts it in perspective. He gives Moshe his priorities. He says, I've indeed seen the suffering of my people in Egypt. I have heard how they cry. I'm aware of their pain. I have come down to rescue them. Right now, the cry of the Jewish people is coming to me. And so clearly, God doesn't choose to describe himself as an all-powerful God, but more so as a person, as a being who hears and responds to the sufferings of innocent people, innocent human beings. And the second encounter of Moshe, he again emphasizes that again emphasizing that he's a God who hears the cries. And lastly, when we encounter the Torah describing the widow, the stranger, the orphan, how we're supposed to treat them, I mean, what do these people have in common? That they have no defense, they have no parents, no husbands, no friends. And so when it says what we do to treat them, it's one of the most powerful statements that we see in the Torah. And it's that if you make them cry, if you do not hear them cry, then Hashem promises that He will hear their crying. He will make your wives widows. He will make your children orphans. And so very clearly we're introduced to this concept where we have to hear the cries of human beings of suffering all throughout the world, and that is a concept that we put first and foremost in our biblical lives, and it's something that's communicated to us. And so personally, I've known this young lady for over 20 years, and as we've heard over the past couple of days, there's a long list of things that will describe Roberta, and many great qualities. And I think of her as a natural-born leader. I think of her incredible focus or ambition. Obviously, as my father mentioned in the chuppah, she radiates joy, positivity to every situation. And although we make fun of her singing, it's something that I know I'll miss. And we'll all miss. But I think there's one characteristic that really defines Roberta, how she embarks on her life, what really pushes her behavior, and that's empathy. And so it's really the ability for Roberta to understand, to share the feelings of another person, to hear their sufferings, and to enrich the lives of people around her. There's a story I heard recently. My father had gone to visit his uncle, Sammy, who was ill, and had brought with him his 3-year-old daughter, Roberta, and on the visit, this 3-year-old child saw that this man who she hadn't happened to know, but she saw that he was uncomfortable, he was ill, and she asked if she was able to sing to him. And so she sang to him, and he felt comfort in his time of sadness. of sickness. And that from that point, from 3 years old, this is how Roberta has led her life, full of empathy. And I mean, you described the amount of time she volunteers her time to disabled children, to old age homes. She literally, for one specific woman, she became part of her family. That this woman now thanked us for saving her life. But it's something that Roberta does day in and day out. She hears stories of people, no matter where it is in the world. She doesn't know who they are, but she cries their tears. She hears their pain. She feels their pain. And as you've heard, I think there's one person who's seen this empathy really closely, and it's Sammy. Roberta has spent countless hours devoted to teaching Sammy, to guiding him, to inspire him. Friday nights, she would sit here and make him comfortable. And she really was mother number 2, which is another mother to add to your list. But I think it's important that Roberta really she's a mother to everyone she meets, to everyone she encounters. And it's really true that she cares. She genuinely cares about their lives, their challenges, their triumphs, their concerns, their goals, and she feels it. And although, selfishly, I look at my younger sister, I want to be a role model to her, I want to teach her, but it's pretty clear that Roberta has been a role model to me for many, many years. And she's someone I really look up to. And it's no question that when she was planning to date, I had these concerns, I had these fears as an older brother, overprotective older brother. How can a person like this, who's so amazing, has all these amazing qualities, how can she find a person who, compares to her? She's practically perfect in every way, right? Except maybe her driving skills, I'm not sure, but it's true. She has all these amazing qualities. So I had initially, for one reason or another, I took a step back from this process. I wasn't as involved in her dating life. It was just because I was scared. I wasn't sure of if she would, and I just hoped, I prayed, I crossed my fingers that she would find someone. But the answer is that I think she did. And she did. But as I'm standing on the school pond, I see my baby sister walking down the aisle. I realized that she did. She found someone David is clearly personable, engaging, brilliant, inquisitive. He, without question, won't stop until his goals are reached. And I think even from the story this morning, we heard this morning, when someone spits at your foot, and your answer is, I love you, besides for a little bit of craziness, that's empathy. And that means you care about them. You care about every single human being. So they both bring this incredible empathy to this marriage, which is an incredible trait to have. To a marriage, to a relationship, hopefully to a home. And so my wish for you is that, I know from the day Roberta had her dolls, she was going to be an amazing mother. And so clearly the same thing for David. And what my hope is that you love her unconditionally, you push her, you help her grow, you complete her, and that together you inspire people, you enrich people's lives, and then you have this empathy for everyone around you. You continue to build your communities, your homes, and the bite name on yourself.
What do you think? No, I'm bird. No, I'm bird.